Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th episode of the Ocho and Ortiz Disney podcast. And before we begin, I do just want to apologize because, as you may have noticed, we've been having technical issues the past couple of weeks, especially with the video side of the podcast, and I am trying to work out the kinks on that. This week, the video side was completely unusable, so there will be no video podcast this week. And I'd say for probably the first quarter to half of this episode, the audio is very laggy and sort of cuts in and out. I did my best to work around that. I ended up having to cut out about 20 minutes to half an hour worth of the podcast because the audio was completely unusable, but I did my best to make this a listenable podcast, and I do want to ask you guys to please stick with us. We do want to make this podcast as best as possible for you, the listeners, and the viewers when we do video podcasts. Stick with us. We're going through a rough patch right now. We will work through it. The podcast is going to get better. Just, again, please stick with us. And apologies to Bob and Josh. I know they really wanted to do this podcast badly because they both love talking about, well, you'll find out the subject that we're talking about in a minute. I don't want to give it away right here, but I know this was an episode they were both passionate about, so I'm sorry to them that it isn't up to my standards of what I expected it to be, and I'm also sorry that I am not that involved with this episode. Because while we were recording it, I could see the technical issues happening, and I was trying to work to fix that. So I'm kind of spaced out most of this episode. So I apologize to you, the listeners, and I apologize to my co-host Josh and our guest Bob. Having said that, I hope you guys do still enjoy this episode. And like I said, better things are coming. We are going to work relentlessly to improve this podcast. All right, enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Ocho and Ortiz Wrestling Let me start over. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Ocho and Ortiz Disney podcast. This is our 5th episode, and on this episode, we're not really reviewing any movies. What are we doing? You'll find out in a second. We have a special guest with us once again. Let's get this thing started. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is the Ocho and Ortiz Disney podcast. I almost said wrestling podcast again. It is the Ocho and Ortiz Disney podcast. We are not going to be doing any sort of movie reviews on this one. We are going to be talking about Disney theme parks. And with us for that, we once again are joined by Bob from the Cretans Guild. Bob, how's it going?
Ocho, Ortiz. How are you guys doing? Or, as we shall, hopefully over the next hour or so, go over this podcast and help you distract yourself from everything going on the outside. And here you will leave today and enter a world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy.
And learn things you never knew.
Yeah. See, this is exactly why I wanted Bob on this podcast. He's already throwing out quotes from Walt Disney there.
Great quotes at that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys caught that. Good. You've done your homework. Good.
Yeah, I just watched Imagineering today on Disney Plus. So
it's such a great miniseries, right?
Yeah, I just started the first episode, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So, but yeah, before we jump into it, I want to apologize to the people out there that have been watching us on YouTube. Last week was our second ever video podcast, and we're still working out the kinks. I know the audio and visual wasn't synced 100%. I'm working on it. I've got a new broadcast software that I'm using tonight. Hopefully that'll fix things. But like we said last week, we haven't done a lot of video podcasts in the past. So doing video stuff is still new to us. We've been doing the audio for 5 years. But stick with us. We are going to try to make the video stuff as good as possible going forward. It just may take a couple of weeks to get all the kinks worked out. But
these are normal hiccups. Everyone goes through them, and hell, Pirates breaks down every once in a while.
Yeah, and so do a lot of other rides. But that's why Disney employs like 20,000 people to fix things when they go wrong. But before we get started, I want to point out to the listening audience, or to the viewing audience, I should say, that I am wearing a Cretans
Oh my God!
t-shirt.
Nice.
So shout out to Bob and Corey and I'm sorry I keep forgetting the third member of the Cretans Guild.
Jay.
Yeah. Obviously I didn't need any help on that one. It just came right to me magically. But shout out to Jay and Corey as well from the Cretans Guild. You guys can go to tpublic.com and search for Cretans Guild to pick up a sweet Cretans Guild shirt. And I highly recommend you do that. And you can also go to shop.spreadshirt.com to pick up some Ocho and Ortiz shirts. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the Disney theme parks because I haven't been to Disney since I was like 7 or 8 years old. Josh and I were supposed to have just been coming back from there recently because of COVID. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to take our vacation. So this podcast is mostly going to be carried by Josh and Bob, and I'll be throwing in my input every once in a while. So Bob, Josh, whoever wants to go first, feel free.
All right. I see how it is. Bring in the guests to do all the heavy lifting.
That's exactly how it goes.
These boulders are made out of fiberglass anyway.
You know what? Your first week, you didn't have to do the heavy lifting, and now your second appearance, it's all on you.
This is the Ocho and Ortiz and Bob podcast, apparently. I'm not going to take this over. This is you guys saying, guys, I will. You want to talk Disney anything, and I am all for it. That's why I'm here. So let's get it underway. What's your first thing here?
I mean, like what I was. This one was mostly going to be what I wanted to do is talk about the theme parks and where it kind of started. Like if you watch like the Imagineering story, if you actually read up on some history. The way Walt envisioned this originally was he started Disneyland Park, right? And
yeah, the one out in California.
Yeah, in California. And he thought about this while at like another little fair with his daughters, and he wanted it to be completely different and his own thing. And it kind of took on a life of its own almost, right?
Yeah, it grew to that first day of Disneyland in Anaheim, California was kind of a miracle just to get that off the ground, both financially and creatively, because the land in California is very sparse. That's why he couldn't build in LA. He had to go out to Anaheim.
Yep. And
there's all kinds of construction issues. I mean, I just watched a thing about how earlier today, how Tomorrowland, the section of that park, almost didn't open with all of Disneyland, and they had like giant rockets and ready, and Disney was afraid people were going to walk by and just see this roped off area. Well, what's going on over here with the rockets and all this futuristic stuff going on over there? Because this was back in the 50s when the space race was like really gun-ho and getting underway, and tomorrow seemed a lot closer to today than it did when it first was being conceptized.
Yeah, that's true, because he announced the project in 1954 in July, and he gave his what he called them Imagineers only a year to build this park.
Yeah, and they from watching the first episode of Imagineering, they threw a lot of money into this.
Yeah, it was only supposed to be about $5 million, and after the end it was 17. Yeah, so they more than tripled
what it was supposed to be. Walt ended up having to sell his house to help pay for the construction and everything,
and to cash out on one of his life insurances.
Yeah. I found that very intriguing. I didn't know that before I watched Imagineering earlier today.
But that just goes to show like how determined and how driven Walt Disney was. Now, thankfully, Walt was the creative mind and the genius behind everything, but he had a right-hand man Roy Disney, his brother, who was the finance guy, he was the guy who would say, well, no, we can't do this. That's too obscene. That's too crazy. That we can't afford that. So he was reeling in his brother a whole lot. And it was basically him that got both California and Florida's theme parks really up and going.
Yes. Yeah, he was very big in the Florida project. Again, if you watch that, the Imagineering story, the first one, Disneyland, did open in 1955, and it was just packed. Absolutely packed.
Yeah,
some things weren't even done.
From what they were saying in the documentary there is that, like, there were a bunch of counterfeit tickets that ended up getting sold for the grand opening.
There was something like 28,000 people. It was more than what they were expecting, because apparently there was only supposed to be about 5,000 people that were invited, and then 28,000 people showed up.
Yeah.
In some areas of the park, the concrete hadn't 100% solidified. So women's high heels were getting stuck in some parts. And they didn't even have water fountains set up in the park.
No,
if you're thirsty, go get a drink.
Yeah, so the way it worked was that there was a plumbing strike going on. So he had to choose to either have the water fountain working or the bathrooms. So he opted to go with the bathrooms. And then people accused him.
Which I think was the best choice.
Yeah, definitely the best choice. But people accused him of forcing them to buy drinks like Coke and stuff because the water fountains weren't working yet.
Yeah, but like you said, that was just the result of the strike that was going on. There was also, I remember watching the first episode of Imagineering. Wasn't there a problem with like the drains and everything because there were like heavy rains and it just made mud out of everything during the construction?
Yeah, everything that could have gone wrong actually did. And it was funny. I was watching some news bloopers earlier today where Disney on air, and he's supposed to be introducing like I'm standing here in front of Fantasyland, and what? Oh, and he had apparently went before his cue before they went live.
That's awesome. But yeah, so that was Disneyland. Again, opened in 2005 in Anaheim, California. Oh, not 2005, 1955. Holy shit. 1955. And then he decided he wanted to, so after that, Anaheim developed really quickly. And he wanted to expand, but he couldn't, at least not in Anaheim. So what he did was he started looking around and trying to find another location. And that's when he found Florida. And, well, he was really smart about this. Instead of buying all of the land in like one go, he bought it he bought smaller pieces of land, but all of them were under different names.
Yeah, I think there's like 6 or 7 different shadow companies built just to purchase property.
Yeah.
And the main reason behind this is because there's a famous photo in Anaheim where if you look to the left, you can see the outline of Space Mountain. Then there's a fence, and then there's a road, and on the other side of the road, there's all these like McDonald's and hotels and everything. So yeah, sprawl and urban sprawl went literally right up against Disney. And he wanted to avoid that. He wanted his own bubble, basically.
Pretty much. Well, because also one of the things that he really wanted to do there was it wasn't supposed to be just a theme park. But there in Florida, what he wanted to do was he wanted to build a whole like city, right? That was what Epcot originally was supposed to be. It was the experimental. Oh fuck! Why don't I not have this open?
Oh, come on, you got to get this.
I had it open. I had it. I knew what it was before. It was the experimental. Project.
Or prototype. That's
Prototype. Okay, you finish it because I know you know.
There's actually been a couple of different variations. I think the most common is experimental prototype City of Tomorrow. There's also experimental project Community of Tomorrow and a whole bunch of other variations. But the one that it just like Epcot there. Yeah. He wanted to build a city and name it Epcot in Florida. And as he's putting all this together and he's buying up the land. And the state of Florida was like, yeah, we'll give you your own jurisdiction, your own like police force and your own government works and like everything. We'll give it to you if you build this park under one exception. You got to build a Disneyland here as well. So Disney, he went back and forth with the state, with the governor. I think Askew was the governor at the time. And they just they finally worked on a compromise. It's like, okay, all right, we're going to build the Magic Kingdom. And then I can work on Epcot.
Yeah.
And this was somewhere around the mid 60s when all this started rolling.
Yeah. So I remember reading about it that he didn't even. I remember reading this years ago that somebody when they didn't know that he was buying all this land, right? It's something like, what is it, 25,000 acres or something like that, how much there actually is. And apparently only half of it's actually used. But somebody found out that it was him buying it. So for those last few plots of land, they jacked up the price.
Yeah.
But at that point, he already owned about 97% of what he needed. So he's like, okay, cool, whatever. I'll pay you whatever now, right?
Yeah, I think it was the Orlando Sentinel that just realized, hey, why is all this land, like Orange Grove and Cattle Ranch, why is all this like almost worthless land being bought up when the coast was going crazy at that time? Like people were buying up coastline to build hotels and resorts and everything. And here we are in the dead center of Florida where there's no interstate. There's barely any roads. It's the center of nothing surrounded by paradise along the coast. And it's like about an hour inside from each direction.
Yeah. So it was the Orlando Sentinel, like you said. I can't remember what her name was, but she found out most about it. And then she did an interview with him and asked him about it. And he kind of, before he could even say no, like he kind of gave a weird face and everything. So she already knew at the time, and she did some more digging. And then he was already planning to announce it in November. But then when the article came out sometime in October, he just flat out asked the governor or whatever to say, yes, this is what's happening, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was Florida. That was supposed to be the Florida project. The sad part about that was that Walt actually passed away December 15th of 1966.
Yeah, 10
and
days after his 65th birthday.
Yeah. He didn't get to see any of it even start. But one of the things he did ask was anything that was in development, he did ask Roy to finish, which is what you said before, how Roy was basically a driving force for both Florida and California, and especially Florida.
Yeah, and his death pretty much, it shook the entire company to all the way down to its foundation. They had no idea what to do because Walt was this leading beacon of light. It's like, all right, we'll follow you into battle, Chief. Tell us what to do. So when he passed, everyone was like, what the hell are we supposed to do here? And so like Roy sat everyone down. It's like, all right, one step at a time. Let's build Magic Kingdom. Let's put Epcot on hold for a little bit. Let's figure out everything else first. And then through the process, I think both logistically and like socially at the time, people weren't really like the 50s mentality of the family living in the house of tomorrow and whatever, and the community of tomorrow. It was becoming less and less of a thing. So they decided, all right, we gotta work on something else. We gotta think of something else. So they came up with a number of concepts. And in the meantime, they're like, all right, just push forward with this Magic Kingdom. Let's just focus on Magic Kingdom. And I loved like some of the ideas they had for Epcot.
What were some of the ideas that they had?
Some of them were like like instead of a futuristic city of tomorrow, let's do a futuristic theme park of tomorrow where rockets and like lights and everything, and it's all flashy, shiny, ooh, wow, and like robots are all over the place. And like another guy came up with, well, let's make like this World Community Center where we have like these pavilions ran by people from those particular countries, like, and it's like 20 to 30 different countries, and you can experience culture and cuisine and lifestyle and all in fashion and all kinds of stuff. And I loved the rumor is, I'm not sure if it's true, that's a number of models were made for all these different ideas. And like two of the big heads of WED at the time looked at two of these models and they just pushed them together. And they said, let's just put a lake in the middle. There's our Epcot.
Yeah, because like I said, originally it was supposed to be a city, but they just were not comfortable doing that with Walt not there to spearhead that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they did decide to open Epcot as a theme park, and that opened in 1982.
Well, Epcot.
And then, Epcot Center, as what they were calling it at the time. And almost everything's gone through a different name change at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, with Epcot Center, they were so leery about it. They was like, oh, we don't know if this is going to actually work. It's our first theme park that doesn't have a castle. Instead, we have this giant freaking golf ball. What the hell is this? I mean, if that isn't just like the most postmodernism piece of art you can ever think of, that thing is insane. If you've ever seen it in person, the Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. What are your feelings of it being taken down for now?
Well, I mean, aside from the entire park itself, it's ready for an update. The last time I was on it, it was very rickety. It was hard to hear Judi Dench. It needs a good loving care. And you know, I'd love to see like Jeff Goldblum or somebody like that be the announcer for it.
That would be amazing.
That would be really cool. I think they announced the new narrator, didn't they?
If they did, I missed it.
Oh, maybe I'm just going crazy.
Oh, Trey, you're not doing anything.
Trust me, I have Google open already.
Joe's already fact checking my nonsense.
No.
I have some notes jotted down here, you know, but going off of stuff I've read, like the thing with the theme park, I've read everything I could have, or at least like 3-4 years ago, I read everything I could have at the time. So it's been a while since I've actually read different things. But when the Imagineering story came out, I watched that like no tomorrow. That was my favorite thing that came out on Disney Plus. But yeah, you're definitely right about it needing an upgrade for sure. Because when I was there in, I want to say October was the last time I was there. It definitely needed an upgrade.
Right.
And there's a number of things about Disneyland that really bothered Walt that he decided, okay, we got to put this in Magic Kingdom in Florida. Like, there were very few ways where cast members can move from one part of the park to the area of the park where they were working without being seen by a guest. So people who were working in Frontierland had to walk through Fantasyland and they're wearing like a cowboy or Davy Jones outfit or a Davy Crockett outfit. And they're just walking through and just killing the magic. So he's like, all right, we got to take care of this. So one of the things they did with Magic Kingdom is when you're walking around the theme park, you're actually on the second story. Yeah. Right underneath is something called the Utilidors. That it's this giant underground cavern. And don't think of it as like something out of Elder Scrolls or anything. It's just like a big, like London Underground, basically. And it's a way for supplies and cast members and they actually hold tours down there now. I was going to go on one recently.
I've been on it. I've been on one of the I've been on the Keys to the Magic Kingdom tour, and we got to go down there before. So actually been in those. I thought, oh my god, that was really cool. I actually really liked that tour. It was like an 8-hour tour, but it was really well done. So I've actually been down there. Oh yeah, that one is really, really worth it. That was cool. That was actually something I was gonna bring up. Was that second floor there? What you were about to say about the garbage chutes, right there, Bob?
Yeah, there's like a vacuum system in a number of the trash cans along. I don't know exactly where. I think it's along Main Street that you throw it in, and nobody comes to collect it because it goes straight into a air pneumatic system, and it just gets flushed away. It's like, all right, take that rubbish straight out to the.
Yeah, it's completely gone. The way they did Magic Kingdom itself is just, it's kind of insane the way to to think about all the stuff that happens behind the scenes and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that, in 1998, they opened up Animal Kingdom, which is actually the biggest park just because of the amount of space they need for animals, right? The safari ride itself is awesome. I love going on that because, again, that's kind of like Star Tours. You're always going to get a different experience each time you go.
Oh, yeah. And one thing I highly, highly recommend everyone to do, and it's not that expensive, is to do one of the backstage tours. I did the one with the elephants. And they brought us backstage where we can get like pretty close to the elephants. I mean, not within reaching distance or like they could spit on us or anything, but close enough that from the other side of the elephant portion of the safari tour where we could see stuff that the safari people weren't seeing. And, you know, that's where I learned that baby elephants love to play in red clay and eat it. I had no idea.
Yeah, so, I mean, they got, 4 theme parks there. They have 2 water parks. Was it Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon? There you go. I've never been to Blizzard Beach. I've only ever been to Typhoon Lagoon.
Some of my friends who have gone say they really, really like it, but the overall consensus is that Typhoon Lagoon is better. I would like to go to Blizzard Beach once just to try.
Yeah.
I look like a fucking walking manatee when I'm at a water park.
Oh, I like the thing you got up there, Dave, with the Avatar, the World of Pandora.
At the time they built it, was the most out of place Disney attraction ever.
Yeah, that was the most. Yeah, because that was owned by Fox, right? That was the most. When I remember when they announced that, I was like, why? Like, that's so weird of a thing to be building. Right?
Yeah, when I heard, I think it was Joe Rohde, the head engineer of that project, he said, and we're going to make floating mountains. I'm like, dude, what are you smoking? Floating mountains in hurricane-stricken Florida? Yeah, good luck with that. And then they finally built it. I'm like, wow, they actually did it.
Yeah,
not bad.
They did. For some reason, what just kind of clicked in my head is what people complain about is at like Everest with the Yeti.
The Disco Yeti.
The Disco Yeti. Yeah. I remember when that thing used to swing its arms and shit. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, the problem they had with that particular attraction is the mountain, the ride itself, and the Yeti do not touch each other.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was a great concept. It's like, oh, let's build all this together and let's like cram all this roller coaster. And it's a pretty damn good roller coaster, by the way. It's not the best I've ever been on, but it's pretty damn good. The problem is the Yeti wasn't designed very well for long-term use. So when it finally broke down, they didn't have a way to fix it because they would have to tear a hole in the mountain to get to it. Oops.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so right now, they don't know what they're going to do. And I remember Joe Rohde, famous quote he gave is, one day I'm going to fix that Yeti. And this was so many years ago at a D23 conference where everybody likes to remember him or reminding him, how's that Yeti project going? You getting any closer to fixing the Yeti? Make a move? No? All right.
That's you know what? You brought that up. That's actually one thing I really want to go to one year is a D23 convention. I think that would be super fun to go to.
I think it would, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are usually in California, I believe, though.
Yes. Yeah. They're held at the Anaheim Convention Center because that is just down the street from Disneyland. It's about like a 5-10 minute walk tops. I remember because I stayed there. Where did I stay? I stayed like I remember I was looking to see how far it was going to be from where the hotel I was staying. I'm like, oh shit, I can walk to Disneyland from California from the hotel. Fuck yeah. That's the good thing about everything being so developed there in Anaheim is that you can literally walk you can walk to Disneyland from a hotel.
You're not going to hear that in Walt Disney World. I can walk to the park. No, you can't.
No, you can't. Not a chance.
All right, and that. Here, all right, I'm going to quiz Ocho on this.
Oh, God.
Can you name the first 2 Disney resorts in Walt Disney World? The ones on property.
Are you quizzing Ocho or me?
You know what? Any of you.
Okay, I'll give Ocho a first shot.
I think, well, Josh already said earlier Epcot was the first.
No, not park. Actual hotel resort.
Oh, fuck no. Nope.
It was
and I'm not going to cheat. I do have Google open in front of me, and I could easily cheat, but I'm not going to do that because I'm better than that.
It's Polynesian, and it's not Grand Floridian. It's the other one over there. Contemporary.
That's right.
Yeah.
Contemporary, which was a unique build where they put the building together first, and then they lifted up each individual hotel room and slid it into place like Legos or something, like a Jenga set.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
They had some other designs, like I think an Italy resort they wanted to build and a Arabian resort to build, and both of those fell through. Now don't cheat at this. Take a quick guess. How many total resorts, campgrounds, high luxury, value resorts, everything on Disney property? What is the number? What do you think it is?
Dave, you want to take a shot first?
Oh, God. I'm going to say around 2,500.
No, I'm talking about properties, hotel properties. Like the Polynesian is one, the Contemporary is one.
How many different hotels?
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of resorts for 2,500. Maybe in Orange County.
I don't know.
Between Orange County and Kissimmee, probably.
I have no idea.
All right. 27 themed, 9 non-Disney, and was it 2? Is it just one campground?
I believe that, yes, there's just one. Well, yeah, there's just one campground.
It's one campground. But I remember I also have done a lot of research for that. But yeah, it's 27 themed and not 9 non-themed Disney resorts.
You're pretty close.
Okay.
There are 31 different resorts.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Between value, moderate, campground, and deluxe villas.
Oh, okay. I've been to like 3.
Yeah, I've only stayed at a few myself. I think 5. I think, and I live here, so I have more opportunity.
I've done.
Well, not right now. You don't.
Well, yeah. Nobody has. I am equal level with the 1%.
I've done 4 actually. I think I've done movies, sports, music, and Pop Century.
Okay, all the cheapos.
Exactly.
Understandable.
Right?
Totally understandable.
You got to work within your budget, man.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do want to stay at all of them at one point, like throughout my years of going. Like Polynesian, I would love to stay at the Polynesian just because, like, I love the theming of that whole resort.
The bungalows at Polynesian, that is my bucket list right there.
Yeah, bucket list is like staying at Bay Lake Tower at Contemporary. That's something I really want to do. I think that would be really cool. I've stayed at a couple of the Universal ones too.
Cabana Bay.
I stayed at Cabana Bay, Aventura, and that super fancy one that looks like an Italian place.
The Portofino.
Yeah, I stayed there just so that I could get the fast pass or the express pass for that time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was during Halloween Horror Nights last year. Actually, I stayed at Portofino for the one night just so that I could get the express pass, and then the next night I stayed at Aventura.
It's kind of worth it.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I bought it and I paid like $200 for the one night, and that express pass is $150 or $160, something like that, for the one day, and you get it for the day you check in and the day you check out. So it worked out perfectly for me.
Yeah, I know we're all talking Disney here, but just like a quick little hint, if you plan on coming to Orlando for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, get an express pass. Holy shit, that will save you so much time.
Well, yes. So the way I do it is I do it by I do what they call stay and scream, where it's not even called that anymore. And so I do the stay and scream where you stay in the park after it closes because I do have the annual pass, and I always buy the ticket that's good for like a month or whatever, and so that I split it up over multiple days. But yeah, that's definitely a big thing. And if I do buy the express pass, because I am cheap, I buy the one that's after 10 o'clock, and it's like half price. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's the express pass I buy. And also I'll there is a way to do it if you want to. If you Orlando Informer.
Oh yeah,
they have a like extensive touring thing of doing a Halloween Horror Nights where you can actually do every one in one night without the express. It's hard, but you can do it.
I've done it a few times. But going back, this reminds me of a question. Like, we're talking about cast members over at Disney World.
Yeah,
the highest employer in the entire state of Florida with 75,000 cast members.
That's crazy.
I can't even think of think of a place where you work and then multiply it by, I don't know, infinity.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, all these people work with me.
That's insane. 75,000 people. And that's just Florida. That's just Disney in Florida, right?
Yeah, just Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably coworkers that you don't even ever see.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%, right? Because between all the people at the parks, the hotels, anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's insane. Again, it's 25,000 acres of that land. And I think they bought more recently too, right?
They did buy some more recently. Now, there is some bylaws with their agreement with the state of Florida that they have to have a certain amount of land preserved as natural wetland, like areas they cannot develop on. Okay. And they bought some land really close to that they didn't own that was really close to one of their golf courses that a lot of people think that's where they're going to move their solar farm over. So because the solar farm is like right in the dead center of the property where they could use it for more resorts or park ventures of some kind. So they're going to move all the solar farm over to this new area. And that way they still don't have to touch any of the wetlands that they've designated to just leave them be, let natural life exist.
Okay. That'll be cool. You think if they do that, do you think they build a fifth park?
Probably not. Especially this day and age. Financially, it doesn't look like some of the projects at Epcot are going to get finished, or they're going to be way scaled back. I don't see a fifth park anywhere in the near future.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, with all the things that they have planned on right now, like with the not expansion, but like the new things going on at Epcot, like you said, there's the Guardian of the Galaxy ride, Ratatouille's getting a ride, and there's something going in the UK Pavilion, I think, right?
Yeah, that one they haven't announced. There's a lot of speculation about that. Mm-hmm. We do know it's going to be something Mary Poppins related.
Right.
Now,
that's
the Ratatouille, that is nearly done. I mean, it just needs like a fresh coat of paint and it's done.
Yeah. That's an import, right?
Yeah, that one first opened at Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
So don't worry, they will speak English in this one. Guardians of the Galaxy, that one they're still working on, and they've developed enough of a foothold on that where no matter what, that's going to get finished the way it is. Mm-hmm. The space restaurant that they are making over by Mission Space, that's nearly complete.
Okay.
Let's see. The UK project, that's the one that's up in the air. And then I don't know what to call it. It's like they demolished a good portion of Innoventions East so they can build like this tri-tiered pavilion center on the Future World side. I think that's still a go just because of the amount of demolition they've already done. They haven't started building that particular pavilion as of yet. And it's going to be like this huge area that oversees the lagoon where you can watch the night show. I forget what it's going to be called.
Oh, yeah, because Reflections is done now.
Well, I think they might keep that for a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard any changes about the nighttime show because they were in the process. They just stopped Illuminations after like 25 billion years that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed that show. That was so much fun, especially around the holidays. That was a really entertaining thing to watch. And then they were doing, Epcot Forever. That's what they were doing.
Oh, okay.
They played music from pavilions and other shows that aren't at Epcot anymore. And then the harmonious emphasis on the U.S. is going to be the next, because whatever the show right now, it's only a temporary one, but it's still pretty damn good from what I've heard. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Don't know if I ever will.
Is that Reflections?
No, I think that's called Epcot Forever.
Okay.
It could be called Reflections Epcot Forever. I haven't seen it yet, like I said.
I know there's some show called Reflections. What about the Star Wars Hotel at Hollywood Studios? You think that's still going to go through?
That's a big question mark because that one hasn't begun. They have the foundation set, and I'm not sure if they even started the building. I believe they have, but they let Art of Animation Resort just sit there for like a good 10 years and didn't do anything with it. So I don't know. It all depends on how much they deem it urgent, because that particular resort is going to be an extremely unique one where it's going to be a 2 or 3 night stay tops. You go in and then you don't see the sun until you leave. You are in like an enclosed spaceport.
Yeah, I'm super you'll see it every day if you go into the parks, right?
Right,
because it's supposed to have like a ticket package as well, right? Where you get to go to a separate entrance into Batuu of Galaxy's Edge, right?
Yeah, and what I heard is they're going to convert like one of their normal buses to look like a shuttle pod.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
So yeah, it'll give you that illusion that you're landing on Batuu.
You're staying there, then going from the airport, right? And going straight there.
I'm not sure.
Magical Express.
No, I think, just Magical Express will pick you up at the airport, take you to the valet, quote unquote, area where then you take like this transportation once you're inside the hotel, and it'll take you, and they give you like a backstory. It's like, okay, you are from Alderaan and your family is dead, and we're going to go take on the First Order and stuff like that. They give you like a persona to live by, and it's in full immersive, full character mode the entire time you're there for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that for when that opens. I would love to go first day. I don't know when. I remember when they announced it. I told my manager, I'm like, hey man, I need a raise.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start saving. That is not going to be a cheap stay.
Yeah, no, I remember something was like 2,000 or something, like 2,500 or whatever US is what it's gonna be like. Nothing's been announced, right? But that was just an estimate, right?
Yeah, and I'll just point out on the slow time of the year, the bungalows at the Polynesian, those are 2,500 a night.
Jesus. Again, yeah, that's US. So for us, that's fucking like $4,000, right? Canadian.
Probably keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that's why I told my manager, I'm like, I need a raise. Definitely need a raise to afford that. But I will figure it out. What else is going on? What else is being doing on right now? Tron Light Cycle, that's almost done at Magic Kingdom, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, there's no way they're going to stop that one.
Well, no, I don't think anything that's supposed to be opening at Magic Kingdom is going to stop, considering their 50th anniversary is in less than 2 years, right?
Right. And Cinderella's Castle is getting its paint job right now.
Yep.
Where it's going to get more of like a pinkish tone instead of the grayish tone it usually had. Whatever, fine.
Well, they already started that. I don't even know if they finished that.
Yeah, they have started. I think when the shutdown happened, they sent all the painters home. Although I think I heard some that they continued it, so I'm not sure if it's done yet or not. It'll probably be done by the time they let people back in again.
Yeah. Is that the only thing going in Magic Kingdom right now? Is the Tron Light Cycle?
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, because they just finished that big Fantasyland overhaul a couple of years ago, right?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, overhaul's the right word.
Definitely, right? That was huge. That was like a 10-year thing. I remember that. What's the one thing I actually really miss from that is Snow White's Scary Adventure.
Yeah. Well, my heart's been hurting ever since they closed Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So
I think we both need to make a trip out to California where we can ride both of those at Magic Kingdom or a Disneyland park. Both of those are still open there. So, I mean, we've talked for quite a bit about this. Well, just a couple of things about the parks around the world. Do you, off the top of your head, know how many parks are around the world?
You're not asking me that, are you?
Dave, you want to go first? Do you have an idea?
For Disney?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay, there's Orlando, there's California. Fuck. Is Disney Paris still a thing?
Yeah, it's still a thing.
Excellent. Okay, so that's there. I don't know. Around the world, I'm going to say 6 or 7.
Okay, Bob, I know you know the answer.
All right, so we have Disneyland, we have Disney California Adventure, we have Magic Kingdom, Epcot, we have Hollywood Studios, we have Animal Kingdom. That's 6 so far. Then there's Hollywood Paris. There is Disney Hollywood in Paris, right next door to that. Then there's Disneyland Shanghai, Disneyland Hong Kong, Disneyland Tokyo, Disney Sea, and there will be a Disney Air as well. And when you guys are ready, we can get all into the Society of Adventurers and Explorers. That is something worth talking about.
Ooh, I feel like that's going to be saved for a future episode because I don't even know what that is.
Think of like an internal lore that started back in the 90s with Pleasure Island, and then they realized how popular it was, and then the Imagineers were like, we've got to do something with this, and they started making it bigger. And it's one of those things that can organically grow, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you have this entire mythos behind in lore and storytelling. That's just, it's so fascinating. I love everything about it.
Dave, I think Dave's going to be really like that one. Sounds almost like his conspiracy theories that he wants to get into at some point.
Oh, that I know a bunch of those. Like when you walk into Pirates of the Caribbean, you got to say, hi, George, and good night, George, if you're the last one to clock out for the night.
Nice.
That's
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. But yeah, like so there's 12 parks, 6 resorts is what they call it, I guess. Around the world.
I lost track as I was counting.
I was counting, but I did check it earlier. It's 12 parks around the world in 6 resorts, I guess you could say. And I guess would you include the one in Hawaii? Wait, what? Okay, what is the Disney Air? That's what I want to know.
Disney. Oh, because they have Tokyo Disney Land, and then there's Tokyo Disney Sea. Yeah. And so the third one they're going to make is Tokyo Disney Air.
Oh.
So land, sea, and air, that kind of thing.
Interesting. All right, cool. Like going to Tokyo is actually something on my bucket list as well that I actually have planned for like 2022, I think. Is what we were aiming for, but like I want to go in January because I got to hit up Wrestle Kingdom as well.
I don't think you want to go to Tokyo in January. A little snowy.
Yeah, but it's got Wrestle Kingdom, man. Wrestle Kingdom's only January 4th, right?
That's true.
The way I look at it, because I remember my cousin had found a super cheap flight to Tokyo last year in October for $700, and like I wanted to jump on that, but I already was going to Orlando for the Halloween Horror Nights and everything. And plus, like, if I'm gonna fly to Japan, I'm gonna fucking go in January so that I can do Tokyo Dome and all the Disney stuff as well at the same time.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess that Tokyo doesn't get halfway as cold as like some of the more northern regions.
Yeah. California Adventure, I love that park as well. We didn't talk about that one.
Well,
no,
yeah,
but we have talked a lot. It is an hour, so I think we'll start wrapping things up here.
Don't be sorry, man. Like this is what I expected for when we do something like this one, which is why at one point I want to have each park is what I'm hoping to get. I'm hoping to do each park has its own episode.
Well, I mean, we could have done that tonight. We could have just started with
we almost did.
Well, we almost did, but like what tonight was supposed to be more of an overview of them, right?
I don't know. You didn't really tell me anything other than we were covering parks. I had no idea what was going on going into this.
Oh, I thought I told you. I think I just told you.
Now I'm the one stuck.
Well, you know now.
Now I'm the one stuck having to edit the audio and the fucking video. Thanks, Josh.
I got you. I remember I told Bob about this.
All right. With that, Josh, any final words before we go?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. When everything opens up, go to Disney. It's awesome. Bob, thank you for coming on again. Like that
Not a problem, man.
Yes, thank you very much for coming on, Bob. We hope to have you on more in the future. You are going to be our go-to Disney expert. Any final words from you before we go?
Just, you can find me with the rest of the Cretans Guild on Twitter, basically Cretans Guild, and that is where you'll find links to like all of our stuff, all of our podcast players, our YouTubes and everything. And I'll just close out my portion by saying, por favor, mantengas Alejandro de las Puertas.
I did not understand any of that, but I'm going to plug our socials as well. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod, Instagram @Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod. Hopefully by the time this comes out, our Twitter will be back up and running and no longer suspended.
What?
But as of right now, the Twitter account is suspended. So as of this recording, so hopefully by the time this comes out, don't worry about that. We'll talk about that after. But hopefully, once Twitter is back up and running, we will have the link for that. Like we said off the top, you can buy our shirts by going to shop.spreadshirt.com/Ocho and Ortiz. You can go to tpublic.com and look for Cretans Guild to buy some of their merch. And you can find our podcast and theirs on most major podcasts and platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our main source of uploading is Podbean, Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod.podbean.com. And as always, guys, whether you're listening to this in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, whatever time of day it is, where you are, when you're listening, we appreciate you listening. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.